He stepped onto the docks and walked onto the path to satiate his hunger, weariness, and curiosity as to what was making that delicious smell. Minutes later, the grassy path transformed into dense woods. Trees with bark as dark as night stood tall on both sides. The branches intertwined with each other, creating a canopy that allowed no light to shine through. He exited out from the tree canopy and entered into an open field that was surrounded by trees. In the middle of the field, bathed in sunlight, was a modest stone cottage. The bottom half of the dwelling was circular in shape and made of gray stone. The roof was made of red stone and was shaped like a hill. Little puffs of black smoke exited from a brick and mortar chimney that sat on top of the roof. The closer he got to the house, the more details he saw, such as two circular windows that had red cloth rags covering it, an oak wood door that was curved at the top with a brass knob, and an iron placard hanging from a nail by a piece of twine. The placard read, "Mrs. Brisbane's Inn." He walked toward the door, and the man was prepared to knock when the sound of the lock disengaging caused him to stand up straight as the door opened to reveal a 4'4" woman who had blue fish-like scales over her face and hands. Her nose was straight and narrow, and her lips were small and thin. She had jade-colored eyes that seemed wide and expressive, and along both sides of her neck were 3 6-inch-long gills. She wore a red silk blouse that was tucked inside the waistband of a knee-length polyester skirt. Clearing her throat, the man looked down at her. "Welcome, traveler, to Mrs. Brisbane's Inn. My name is Tatiana. How may I help you?" she asked. The man looked at the short-statured woman who stood before him, his left brow raised in confusion. "Mrs. Brisbane?" he asked. Smirking at his question, the woman shook her head. "No, I am not Mrs. Brisbane. I just work here. Like I said before, my name is Tatiana. I am a water elf." Tatiana extended her left hand in greeting. He shook her hand, and Tatiana stepped aside from the doorway to allow the man entry. He nodded cordially at her and ducked his head under the doorframe and stepped inside the tiny house. Looking around the shelter, he took in every sight and smell of the hut. He realized that the roof of the hut was high up, allowing him to stand to his full height. Along the wall on the left was a small, 2-shelf bookcase, filled with books of varying sizes and colors. On top of the shelf was the biggest book of all, Dragon Nest, a Dragon Tale. Along the opposite wall was another 2-shelf bookcase, but this one was filled with steel-framed pictures of an old fair-skinned woman with kind eyes, surrounded by 2 little boys and an old man. She was holding a shorter, smiling Tatiana in her arms. He walked over toward the bookcase and picked up the photo. He showed it to her. "Is this her?" he asked Tatiana.